They called it a business decision, because if you tried tackling Earl Campbell head-on, you might have just made a bad one. He wasn't fast like Bo, he wasn't flashy like Barry, but when he ran, he brought violence with him.
Oh my God. You had to get him before he got going, because once he got going, boy, it was like a truck.
You could hear the impact through the TV. Defenders didn't just miss tackles, they questioned their career choices. This man had 36-inch thighs.
Not many times as a young man I noticed another man's thighs.
2 tree trunks for legs, and a running style that turned every game into a collision course with destruction. Even the Houston Oilers equipment manager was stunned. He said, "We make thigh pads in small, medium, large, and Earl Campbell." He's the only player in NFL history to win Offensive Player of the Year 3 years in a row, right at the start of his career. He won MVP by year 2 and redefined what it meant to be a power back. So today, meet the most feared running back to ever step on a football field, Earl Campbell. Earl Christian Campbell was born on March 29, 1955 in Tyler, Texas, a small town known for its roses, and that's how he got the nickname that would follow him forever, the Tyler Rose. He was the 6th of 11 kids. Life in the Campbell house was tough. His father, Bert, worked 2 jobs, one under the blazing Texas sun in the rose fields, the other under fluorescent lights at Kmart. His mother, Ann, ran the home like a general, raising her army of kids with toughness and faith. But when Earl was just 11, his world cracked. His father died of a heart attack. From that moment on, Earl carried more than just his family name. He carried the weight of responsibility. He once said, "After my daddy died, I knew I had to grow up fast." That's exactly what he did. At first, football wasn't even his dream. He started as a kicker, believe it or not. One day while watching Chicago Bears legend Dick Butkus, Earl noticed something odd. He realized Butkus had bow legs, just like him, so he figured, why not play like him? He switched to linebacker.
I wanted to be the next Dick Butkus. I wanted to be a linebacker.
And from the first snap, it was clear, this kid didn't run from contact. He looked for it. That fearless edge caught the eye of his high school coach, Corky Nelson, at John Tyler High. And one day, Nelson made a decision that would change football history. He told Earl, "You're our new running back." At first, Earl hated it. He'd take the handoff, run straight into the line, and just fumble. He later joked, "I didn't want to be no running back." But what he did have was that linebacker mentality. He didn't just want to get yards. He wanted to deliver pain. And later in his career, he reshaped the running back position and solidified his stature as one of the most dominant players in NFL history. By senior year, the pieces finally clicked.
He was the most dominant high school football player I had seen, and probably ever seen.
He ran angry, he ran proud, ran like a man who refused to be stopped. That season, he put up 236 rushing yards per game, scored 29 touchdowns, and led John Tyler High to a 15-0 record, winning their first state title in 43 years. In the championship game, he bulldozed 2 defenders on the game-winning touchdown. The crowd went wild, and that day, the legend of the Tyler Rose was born. That same year, he was named Mr. Football USA, the nation's top high school player. And word spread fast. This kid wasn't just good, he was built different. Barry Switzer, Oklahoma's head coach, said, "Earl Campbell's the only player I've ever seen who could have gone straight from high school to the NFL and been a star." And he wasn't wrong. Before the big leagues came knocking, Earl took his talents to Austin. The Texas Longhorns had no clue their next legend had just walked through the door. When Earl Campbell arrived at the University of Texas in 1974, he didn't look like a college freshman. He looked like a tank in shoulder pads. He showed up in Austin with all his belongings packed into one grocery bag. That was it. No fancy luggage, no ego, just hunger to achieve something. And not long after arriving, someone handed him a reel of old NFL film. It was footage of Jim Brown, the man who redefined what a running back could be. Earl sat in his dorm room, projecting that tape on the wall. He studied every move, every hit, and every finish. He later said, "I just couldn't believe how Jim Brown ran over people. So I made up my mind, that's how I wanted to be." And from that moment, the legend of the human wrecking ball was born. As a freshman, Earl wasted no time announcing himself. He rushed for 928 yards and 6 touchdowns, earning Southwest Conference Newcomer of the Year. But that was just the warm-up. By his sophomore year in 1975, he took over college football. lining up at fullback, a position that demanded pain tolerance and raw strength. He bulldozed through the Southwest Conference, leading it with 1,118 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, and 78 total points. He was named a first-team All-American by the American Football Coaches Association. Then came 1976. It was a rough year. Leg injuries kept him sidelined for 4 games. He only played 7, finishing with 653 yards and 3 touchdowns as Texas stumbled to a 5-5-1 record. For the first time, the Tyler Rose looked human. But behind the scenes, he was healing and waiting. In 1977, Earl Campbell unleashed one of the greatest seasons college football has ever seen. He led the entire nation in rushing with 1,744 yards and 19 touchdowns. Early that year, in a game against Rice, he scored 4 touchdowns in a 72-15 blowout. That same game, his teammate Russell Erxelbin nailed a 67-yard field goal, setting an NCAA record. But everyone was talking about the man wearing number 20, breaking tackles like they were suggestions. That was Earl Campbell in a nutshell. He didn't go around obstacles, he went through them. When asked about his style, he said, "I couldn't dance, I couldn't fake you out. I had 2 moves. I could run over you or I could stiff arm you. That's about it." But what made it beautiful was how simple it was. No tricks, no gimmicks, but just raw power and heart. And in his final regular season game against arch-rival Texas A&M, Campbell went off for 222 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 57-28 victory. The Longhorns finished the regular season undefeated, claiming the Southwest Conference championship. That set up a showdown in the Cotton Bowl Classic, top-ranked Texas versus 5th-ranked Notre Dame. That was led by a young Joe Montana. Campbell carried the ball 29 times for 116 yards, but the Longhorns fell short 38-10 as Notre Dame captured the national title. But Campbell had already cemented his place in history. He was awarded the Heisman Memorial Trophy. That made him the first player in University of Texas history to win it. He also received the Davey O'Brien Memorial Trophy as the best player in the Southwest Conference. He was named College Football Player of the Year by both the Sporting News and UPI. Every major selector named him a unanimous All-American. By the end of his college career, he had rushed for 4,443 yards and 40 touchdowns in 40 games. You can wrap it up as 4 years, 40 games, and 40 touchdowns. That's balance. That's dominance. That's Earl Campbell. When the 1978 NFL Draft arrived, there was no suspense, just destiny. The Houston Oilers took him first overall, and the NFL was about to learn what Texas already knew. You don't stop Earl Campbell, you just brace for impact. When the Houston Oilers called Earl Campbell's name with the first overall pick in the 1978 NFL Draft, they weren't just drafting a player, they were drafting a force of nature. From the first day of practice, everyone could feel it. The sound of his pads was heavier and sharper. When he hit, it echoed across the field. Earl didn't try to slip past defenders, he went straight through them. Then came his first NFL game, and the league got its introduction. On his very first play, he caught a short screen pass and rumbled 73 yards for a touchdown. Just like that, the Oilers had their identity. His rookie season was pure chaos for anyone who lined up across from him. He bulldozed his way to 1,450 rushing yards, a rookie record at the time, and 13 touchdowns. He led the league in rushing yards and became the most feared player in football overnight. As head coach Bum Phillips said, "This is a commitment to excellence. It takes a great running back to have a winning football team. This kid is a great running back." It wasn't hype, it was prophecy. Week after week, he left a trail of broken tackles and broken spirits. One clip from that season still lives rent-free in NFL history. It was a Monday Night Football game against the Miami Dolphins. The stage was national television, and the moment, legendary. Campbell rushed for 199 yards and 4 touchdowns, scoring twice in the final 7 minutes to seal the win. Defenders bounced off him like bumper cars. The crowd roared like they were watching a heavyweight fight. By the end of that season, he wasn't just a rookie, he was the face of the league's next era of physical football. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. He was also named First Team All-Pro and helped Houston reach the AFC Championship game. There, they finally ran into the brick wall known as the Pittsburgh Steelers' Steel Curtain. Even in defeat, Campbell's legend grew. He carried the ball over 20 times in each playoff game, averaged 88 yards per game, and scored 2 touchdowns in his first postseason run. That was just the beginning. In 1979, year 2, Campbell came back meaner. Defenses stacked 8, sometimes 9 men in the box. But it didn't matter to him. He ran right through them. That year, he rushed for 1,697 yards and 19 touchdowns, leading the league in both categories. The Oilers finished 11-5. Earl Campbell became the first player in team history to win NFL MVP. He also repeated as Offensive Player of the Year and made the Pro Bowl for the second straight season. There's a Thanksgiving Day game from that year that sums him up perfectly. Houston versus Dallas, the Battle of Texas. Earl Campbell rushed for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns, dragging defenders like they were children hanging onto his jersey. You could see the fear in their eyes before contact. No one wanted to meet that man in the hole, but Campbell wasn't satisfied. He had a saying, if you're going to be the best, you can't be afraid of the pain. And by the time 1980 rolled around, pain was all he gave out and all he played through. That season, Earl Campbell hit his peak. He rushed for 1,934 yards, second highest total in NFL history at the time, and led the league for the 3rd straight year. He had 4 games of over 200 rushing yards, a single-season record that still stands even after decades of football and legends who tried to match him. He won his 3rd consecutive Offensive Player of the Year and became the only player ever to start their career that dominant. But even as the crowd roared and the records fell, some saw the danger in his style. Former NFL running back Ron Johnson watched and said quietly, "He runs with a lot of reckless abandon. You can run like that in college, but you can't do that for 10 years and hope to survive." He was right. Earl wasn't built for longevity, he was built for impact. And in those early years, every collision left a mark on both sides. We'll get to that, just wait up. Even Hall of Famers couldn't believe what they were seeing. Steelers legend Joe Green once said, "That guy can inflict more damage than any back I've ever faced." Earl Campbell didn't care about finesse. He didn't care about stats. He cared about winning, hitting, and surviving the grind. By the end of 1980, he had 3 rushing titles, an MVP, and a reputation that made defenders look the other way when the play call was 22 dive. But the same collisions that made him great were also breaking him down. In 1982, the NFL season was cut short by a player's strike. Only 9 games were played. The Houston Oilers finished 1-8, and for the first time in his career, Earl Campbell looked like a very average player. Just 538 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, an average of 59.8 yards per game, far below the 104.1 he'd averaged over the last 4 seasons. It wasn't just a bad year, it felt like a shift. He was still the same man, same legs, same heart, but something had changed. Then came 1983. Campbell pushed back, 1,301 yards, 12 touchdowns, another Pro Bowl. But it didn't matter. The Oilers finished 2-14, tied for the worst record in football. Losing was one thing, but for Earl, it was the noise that hurt more, the whispers, the headlines. He said it himself. "I'm tired of hearing every week how I'm too dumb, washed up, too dumb to read holes, can't block, can't catch the football." This was Earl Campbell, the man who once dragged entire defenses for yards. Now being called washed up, it ate at him. And when he was benched in the second half against the Bengals that year, he'd had enough. He wanted out and he demanded a trade. The Oilers didn't listen, not at first. But by the next season, they had no choice. 1984 started like a nightmare. 6 straight losses under new head coach Earl Campbell. Earl rushed for just 278 yards in those 6 games. Then the unthinkable happened. He was traded. Earl Campbell traded to the New Orleans Saints. Houston was stunned. It felt like watching the heart of the city get ripped out. But because Bum Phillips was coaching in New Orleans, it made sense. He said if he was going to rebuild a team, he wanted the toughest man he'd ever coached beside him. The Saints already had George Rogers, the 1981 number 1 pick, a Heisman winner, a rushing champion. Now they had 2 Heisman backs in the same backfield. It sounded like a dream, but it really wasn't. Earl's body was done fighting. In his first game with the Saints, he carried the ball just 5 times for 19 yards. The spark was gone. He finished that season with 468 yards and 4 touchdowns. No 100-yard games, no flashes of the old Tyler Rose. By 1985, there was one final burst left in him. One last reminder of who he was. Against the Vikings, he rushed for 160 yards and a touchdown, his final 100-yard game. After that, the tank hit empty. He thought about one more season, just to reach 10,000 career rushing yards. but deep down he knew. "I'm a man. I'm not a little boy," he said quietly. "I believe this is the best thing, not only for myself, but for the Saints." And that was it. Earl Campbell retired before the 1986 season. He walked away with 9,407 rushing yards, 74 touchdowns, and the respect of every man who ever tried to tackle him. He left a trail of broken helmets, bruised ribs, and unforgettable moments. Somehow, even after all that, only missed 6 games due to injury in his entire career. But the truth? The damage came later. The knees, the spine, the surgeries. The price of being the most feared running back who ever lived. In 1991, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. When he walked on stage, his legs stiff, his body battered, the crowd rose to their feet. Not because he was perfect, but because he'd given everything he had to the game. And even now, decades later, you can still feel his shadow in every power back who's ever lined up behind the quarterback. Derrick Henry, Marshawn Lynch, Adrian Peterson, they all owe something to Earl. Because that's who Earl Campbell was, the most feared running back of all time.